Open session, no actions will take. Please stand for the flag salute. Oh, do I just turn this off? Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated, and now we will hear from the choir club from La Suma, and they'll be singing for us tonight.
Before they start, I'm just going to introduce the kids by name. Under the incredible leadership of Ms. Tamara Dent and Mrs. Nicole Starr. Thank you. Starting on this end, fourth grader Adele. Next to Adele, we have fourth grade Chance, eighth grade Jax, fourth grade Grayson, fifth grade Mavis, sixth grade Ian, sixth grade Ellery, eighth grade Shayna. I had to make sure you're looking at me. Eighth grade Luke, eighth grade Lavender, and seventh grade Jay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take it away. I want to say how proud Mrs. Starr and I are of these kiddos. This is their third performance in like 30 hours. So they're really hoping across the mountains here.
Okay. That was wonderful. Can we give Wasuma Choir Club a round of applause one more time? We are moving on to item number 5, the annual organizational meeting. This is where we switch roles on the board. This is where we will elect a new president, vice president, clerk, and representative to the executive board of the Madera County School Boards Association. We are able to do this in one motion, so if we have a motion and a second, we can switch roles.
I'll make a motion
Tell us your motion, Stephen.
to do
Well, tell us the names of who you want to be what.
that we just basically rotate.
Okay, so you would like your motion to be for Diane to be the board president, for Denise to be the vice president. You will be the board clerk, and Rhonda will be the representative to the executive board of the Madera County School Boards Association. Is that correct?
No. Because I thought I would be the board representative,
Yeah, because I was bored this year, so it should switch.
yeah,
Okay, so,
but you almost got that perfect.
well, I was trying to read your mind.
You are so.
You are.
His motion just right.
Please state your motion, Stephen.
So my motion is that we rotate everyone one step up, with you going to,
The bottom.
well,
Just
Jake Roberts
the
is the current
trustee.
position, or my current position, actually, because we're in the wrong seat somehow. But that's all right. And that, so Rhonda would be the new clerk. Denise would be the new vice president. Diane would be the president.
You'll be the,
Did I miss anyone?
nope, you'll be the
And
representative.
the roving representative.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Did you get that?
It's
Any
easier-
discussion?
It's easier to do it than say it.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Yeah.
We're moving.
Are we gonna move right now?
Do we not need to move,
That
Steve?
means I get to stay right here.
Well, you could just move it there, right?
Well, okay, well, for sure move the gavel.
Maybe you should just switch your name.
There you go. I did want you to go.
Madam President, would you like to sit here? Sure.
You want to hand it over?
I
It occurred to me that we
do
were
I ever?
Me neither.
switch somewhere in here. I was looking forward to the representative, because that's the only role I have.
Yours.
Leave me, I think.
It's coming in.
Fine. Start having a comparison in advance. Okay.
She's going.
Gotta make it fun. We're doing it. We're doing it.
Take over his ministry now.
Six, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Right.
Oh, 5 meetings. We have to establish the date and time first.
Okay. Okay. So do we have to put down the next date, or how does that work?
There's an attachment for establishing time, day, and place of regular board meetings.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the establishment of the time, day, and place of regular board meetings according to this schedule attached?
I move approval.
A second.
Okay. Any discussion? Are we all good?
No, thank you for outlining it and everything's great.
Okay, so, board vote?
Aye.
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 And aye. Okay, now we're on item number 6, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
A second? Okay, any discussion of any of these items?
I have a couple things. I just wanted to say that I'm thankful that we're filling the vacancies because I know sometimes it's hard to find people.
Mhm.
I appreciate the donation for the Brendan Gillespie Youth Foundation. And Robert's not here, but I'm sad to see him go, but obviously happy to see him moving on to a new chapter of life.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Comments?
Well, looking good.
Just wanted to say about Robert Diaz, the head of the Maintenance and Transportation Department, the letter that he put forth, which is here attached, was just absolutely beautiful. And I love that he did make it about himself. He made it about his team mostly. So we're sure going to miss him when he leaves.
So I was hoping he was gonna be here because I wanted to compliment him on his resignation letter. I've seen a lot in my 45 years in various business stuff. And that was one of the nicest ones I've ever seen. Just wanted to.
Yeah, he would never miss meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to item number 7, monthly items of financial reports. Is there a motion to approve the monthly approval of warrant?
We have to vote on the consent agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, we did.
I thought we did that.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes, so roll call vote.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're on 7. The monthly items and financial reports. Is there a motion to approve the monthly approval of warrants?
I will motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this?
I had a question on the warrants, on page 3. Can you tell us, is it page 3 on the top or page 3 on the written? It's page 3 on the document? Yeah, on the actual document. Okay, sorry. No, you're fine. Okay, page 3, I'm on there.
Page 3.
So page 3, we have, an expenditure for Linda Move Bell. Yeah, that's on there. On page 3. Page 3, which is page 4.
Oh, there it is. Sorry, no, no. got
Okay,
it.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh,
We're on page 4.
It's
Yeah.
the professional development workshops.
Yeah, yeah. So there's some different expenditures within that on a few different pages for professional development. And so I was just hoping to get a description of what that professional development was, because it was for both ELA and math.
Yeah, can you hear me?
So Linda McBell has Seeing Stars and On Cloud 9, and these are programs specifically for our students with disabilities. And so we have been hearing quite a bit over the last few years from those folks wanting some supplemental curriculum to help them help their kids meet their goals for their IEPs. And so those are the 2 programs. And so those were purchased, and then we're also providing them professional development so that they can be effective with the curriculum.
So this is special ed only.
Yes.
And it's professional development for both the aides, the para educators and the RSP and SDC teachers. So they're rolling that out, scheduling that at different times with all the different staff because we were in differentiated assistance with our students with disabilities. So we were wanting to have more supports and increase the programs that they want.
Okay, is this something they asked for, or is it something you guys came?
Yeah, we had one teacher who spearheaded it and did all the research, got the quotes and worked with the rep and has been scheduling all the trainings. And I think that the classified staff's really excited as well because usually a lot of the trainings are teacher side. So I think that it's great to have both the classroom aides and the teachers both being on the same page.
Awesome. And then my other question was about Nearpod. It's an app.
What page?
I have it that it's on page 4, but I've been wrong before, so.
It's 5.
Because it counts the cover in the PDF, so it's kind of long.
Oh.
I could put the cover in a separate attachment. Maybe
No,
that would-
I don't be able to.
That's
figure
okay,
it
we'll
out.
figure it out in years.
Yeah, I see it on page 5.
Okay, what was it again?
It's called Nearpod and it's an app.
Oh, Nearpod.
New pod.
It's the middle of the page.
Yeah.
Nearby.
So I'm just curious what this app is and maybe how many,
Oh, yeah.
is it for teachers? How many are using it? What is it?
It's a district-wide license, so all teachers have access to it, and, Garrett McDonald, who's our TSS teacher on special assignment, that's helping teachers with incorporating technology and such into their curriculum, so I asked him to give me a little blurb on it, because he's obviously has his fingers in it more than I do, so, he said Nearpod enables us to deliver highly interactive instruction that enhances student engagement and improves academic outcomes. It can be utilized for full class instruction, small groups, or one-on-one session. We are employing it to disseminate EDGE protocols, which underscores its collaborative focus. And then it just says, I encourage you to invite board members to come and observe a demonstration if they'd like to in the classroom. And then he also included a link for a video that I'll go ahead and email to you guys.
And to purchase that, we use Title IV funding, which is federal funding. We receive a small amount for, and I just pulled up the blurb for you, but Title IV funding is for well-rounded education, improving school conditions for student learning, and improving the use of technology in order to improve academic achievement and digital literacy of all students. So part of our apps that we get each year are put under this resource that fit and meet that criteria.
So that'll be a yearly cost.
We've had it for a few years now, but I think the price is less this year. It kind of goes year to year depending on the number of licenses and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and, I think it was over the summer or right at the beginning of the year, wasn't Garrett betting with a survey, different, apps?
Yeah, which
that
ones
teachers were using, and then he's really good about calling the reps and saying, well, we're thinking about going over here, so kind of give us a deal over here. So he actually worked really hard on that and saved us quite a bit of money and helped us take away things that weren't being used very much. And then also he's been really good about, of course, like when we took apps away from, like, if they didn't have a high usage, but then of course, like those individuals that are using are like, hey, like, I want to use that, right? So he was really good about talking with them about how they use it and seeing if those features were available in some of the apps that we were keeping, and then training them on how to use it over here instead of over here. So he's been doing that kind of work for us. And so far, I think that's been pretty successful.
Yeah, he's even reached out to a few places where they've done individual licenses for like one teacher, if it was something they just had to have, and maybe it was only like $149.
Right.
But that teacher, it's a main tool that they use. Some companies don't offer that. Some of them, they want you to do a district-wide, but he was very flexible and worked with all of them.
Yeah.
To get it, to meet the budgets.
He's well spoken.
Yeah, he is. I got almost all of this.
Oh, okay. It's okay.
I gotta get.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Was that,
I mean,
are
it's
you
mine.
done with the questions? I am.
It's okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, like this is the transition where I ask my questions now. Okay, so on page 7. Oh, can I ask my question? She asked for
Yes, you may.
We are all for it tonight. Okay, so on page 7 on the attachments, I just had a question about the sped mileage, because it all had the same date. So I'm guessing that it's for different, is that $131 like a day for the sped to be taken to?
Each time.
Oh, yes, I think the way the payment was entered. Oh,
Oh, okay.
yeah, the way the payment was entered is in the October mileage. So that, maybe
So-
because there are also AP person, she just put 10-1, but we actually have sheets from, the mileage that have each date. And then we also contact the program and we get the attendance, so we can match it up as well.
Okay, so it's $2,300-ish a month for transportation.
Yes,
That goes to parent, right, transportation.
yes,
Student.
because when, that's what was in their IEP then. And also,
a lot of times it can be cost effective having the parent, if they are willing to transport, than instead of having an employee with salary and benefits. It kind of depends year to year and where they're going.
Right.
But this works out great for this student and, but yeah, that's each of the days. I'll ask her to make.
You know,
the
it's
date.
totally fine. I kind of figured that, but I just wanted to ask, because I thought that's probably, but thank you. And my other question
On the far left columns, it has the different days. So you see on the far left column.
Oh, yeah, she uses that for the invoice number.
Oh, one.
Oh, because it just,
2024, then the next one's 10/02, 2024, 10/03, 2024.
I didn't look at the invoice number, the sped mileage, 10/1/24, all the way down the line. But anyway, thank you for clarifying. And then my other question was on page 11, let me see. Another, which page? Hold on, I'm looking, I'm still looking. Oh, yeah, okay.
While she's looking,
On the,
so on the spread, I had a little question on that. I thought when we bought the van, these numbers were gonna like shrink and go away.
No, because we had one student that in the IEP, we were transporting them, and in this case, in IEP, it said the parent is transporting them and we're reimbursing them, and, the parent doesn't wish to have them transported by us. So we have to go by what's in the IEP. And we don't have that position anymore. It was a temporary position last year. That was a different student. So we were gonna have both. Now we're just down to the one.
Are we using our van?
Yes, actually, we use it quite a bit. We've been using it for conferences and trainings.
Okay,
All district-wide, anytime someone's gonna go to a conference or a training, we reach out to Robert and he has a calendar. So, I would use it to go to a conference.
alright.
We're gonna be using it coming up. So we're still
Excuse my
using it.
interruption.
no, that's fine. You're on the same.
It's saving us money of renting cars.
Yeah.
For a
Okay.
different. training.
So my other question, was, it's on page 11 on the top. It's the due process mileage for the nurse that, goes up to the special ed process that, special ed student that we have. I'm just wondering why we pay her mileage. Does she come to the office and then drive to the patient?
It's from her home to the student.
But isn't that her place of work? Why do we have to pay mileage? Like, if we
In
would
the
have her to come
past,
here.
we've had issues, finding, nurses that were available, and so this has just been part of, we pay that because that is how we have people that are willing
I'm
to.
enticing her. to
It's a
go there.
recruiting technique
Got it. Okay.
and a
Because we
retention
even-
technique.
There's no one up here local.
So we don't have to keep.
No, this is a local person who's not going very far, because this mileage is far less. Last year it was someone from further away.
Oh.
This person is in Oakhurst, so it's less of a mileage cost. And, with this student, we also pay, the nurse, even if the student isn't home, because otherwise they'd go find another job. So we
I
do
know,
that
we
to
have
keep it
a lot of-
consistent for them, for their income and for their time driving out there.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
Any other questions or comments on this?
Tara, I think you do a great job.
All the credit goes to Mindy with, all these payments.
Mindy, I think you do a great job.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you for all of the extra descriptions and extra typing and keeping things private. And there's a lot of attention to detail in this 13-page report, and I just didn't want it to go unmentioned.
Yeah, she made my job easier, because you'll see a few on there where I've been trying to put the labels. I stopped doing handwriting because I'm told my handwriting is bad, so I was using the PDF labeler, but I'm labeling less and less because Mindy is doing such a great job with her description. And she has a limited field, so she tries to sum it up the best she can, but I said to her, I used to have to have like 40 notes, and now I just have like 4 or 5. She's doing a great job. So if you're watching, Mindy, do it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is that it? Anything else? Okay, roll call vote.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, next item, under monthly items and financial reports are the quarterly reports on investments. Tara, you're up.
So this one's information only, and we're just due to update you on the July to September period. And I have attachments there from the FARS, which is our investment fund for our retirees, health and welfare liability that's on our books. And then also the county treasury, because our funds are in interest, so they do a report on that on the interest and the percent that's been earned. So, the attachments are there, as well as the link if you wanted further detail. But just to summarize it, the county treasury fund, went up from 2.69% the last time I reported to 3.92%. So we're getting more of a return there on that interest. And then our total investment for our OPEB liability, also went up, since I reported in June. Oh, dropped it over here. It went from, 1,317,000 to 1,390,000. But you'll see each time when we report, sometimes it's been just 1.1 million, so it kind of fluctuates depending on what's going on in the market. But either way, you know, based on our, actuarial study that we did at a previous meeting, that we already have above what we need, for our retirees. We have an asset instead of a liability. So having that investment there, will give the district a cushion when people retire over the years and we're paying their health and welfare benefit costs.
Have any questions? It's not an action item. Thank you, Tiara. And hearing of persons wishing to address the board, I don't have any slips. Anybody who wants to comment? So we will. So more action items. Number 9. A is the positive certification, first interim report. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the positive certification of the first interim report.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this?
So first, I just want to point out, excuse me, I'm getting over, what is attached. So I always do the narrative where I kind of give you a summary of all the funds, but I go over that in my presentation as well. And then I always include Fund 1, our main general fund, and I highlight some things on there, so you can see our revenues and expenditures. Again, I'm going to cover that in my presentation, as well as our ending balance. And then I also have a multi-year projection. It's the last 2 pages of that shows to say we're going to positively certify our first interim, we have to say we can meet our expenditures in future fiscal years. So we do that by kind of doing some projections, but I'll go over that in my presentation. And then also attached, you have the cash flow that collaborate with the county to get that so we know what our cash balance is. Actually, I want you to open that because you can, if you look at it, you'll see for December, beginning cash at the top there is $1,561,250. Normally in December, we have a lot stronger cash balance, so it is getting lower, but we do get our taxes in January. That'll help. That's what makes the balance go up there in January, but I don't think since I've been here, I've seen a year where December was that low in cash balance. And that cash balance is what pays our payroll and our accounts payable bills. So we'll be waiting on those taxes. The reason that's lower than normal is because we have had more expenditures than we do revenue, and we've chipped away at ours. You have a question?
Yeah, do we know what we'll get in January? Or is that,
Do we do what?
Do we know
the tax?
what the tax?
No, well, they have a projection there that's on the cash flow. But it depends on the tax revenues that come in with this through the state. But on there, it's showing, actually quite a bit coming. Oh, it comes in December. So you'll see it on the December line. The second line down is our property taxes, and it's saying around 3.6 million. But that number can change, like I said, depend on the tax revenues that come in. So then that'll be added, and then we have all our expenses that'll carry us forward. And in April, we receive another property tax. So those are the 2 times a year that we get that.
So I have a question on that page. I know you're doing a presentation, maybe we cut it, but that cash flow one, what, under the miscellaneous funds, I see there's like negative, like for certain months. What is that? So if you go down like the 1, 2, 3.
Oh, those are just different adjustments that they have to make. Like sometimes they go back and look at a previous tax year and then they realize they have to make an adjustment. So they use that line to make adjustments.
So this came from the county.
Yes, they send it to me and then I make one and we make sure it matches and lines up. And then the most important numbers are there all the way to the right, the totals. That's what matches what I'm going to present to you, which is our first interim model. So I have to match the revenues and the expenditures to what's actually in our accounting system. And so it's a true picture. And then the last thing that's attached is the presentation, so I'll. First year, I gotta wear my readers to talk to you, so that's exciting. And well, it begins. So this is the 24-25 first interim. I'm not gonna sit here and read through all this, because you'll be like, really, you're gonna do that, but I always start off my presentation to have highlights of all the great stuff that's going on at all of our sites. So we've got our PBIS programs at all sites now. Last year, we had just had it at OCI, and we have it at all 3 sites. We've got psychologists at all sites. We just had interviews for our health aide position that had been vacant for some time due to some revisions in the job description you had seen at the previous meeting. And so once those 2 positions are filled between the nurse and the 2 health aides, all 3 sites will have coverage at lunch, which is when they get a lot of kids coming in from recess with boo-boos or needing ice. So it'll be nice, because before we were trying to bounce people around, and I know it's hard for the school offices with all the traffic they get. So now they'll have like a backup and another person there. Our school nurse has been doing her CPR classes for staff. In fact, some district office staff, like Dawn and Mindy, got to go. And thanks to our awesome Prop 28 music and art funding, we now have theater electives and music at all of our sites. And then Michelle touched a little bit on Mr. Mack, who's our tech teacher on special assignments. So he's been scheduling days and going and working with the teachers on how to implement different apps and technology into their curriculum. And I know it's been really well received. If you've never met him, you should try to meet him. He's such a nice guy, and he's very welcoming and warm. So I think the teachers really like being able to work with him. Esports is going strong, and we saw the last presentation at the board meeting where we had the students, they were demonstrating and they did their speeches, which I love. So we are going to be getting some more equipment, thanks to Stephanie, pulled together some quotes after the last meeting, and we're using some of that ELLP funding to beef up both those programs. As the kids were saying, we need some more equipment, so more kids can participate at the same time. And the Linda Mood Bell training we covered with Denise's question. And then Stefan and 8 of our teachers, so we did a few teachers from each site are going to go to the Q conference, and Q is for another level of technology and applications and how to bring that in. We've sent teachers the last few years for that, and that's a conference that they really love. They learn a lot about techniques and things they can use in their classroom with applications and technology. And then we have students competing in Battle of the Books and the pentathlon, and my club, there are so many kids signed up and participating at both sites. So it's great, because I know when I first started here almost 8 years ago, they were really calling for after-school programs out of SUMA. We only had the my club for the, the Boys and Girls Club here, which is now my club. So it's great that they have it with SUMA, and then they have it here for OCI and OES. So our kids are all have access to that after school, and they get to compete in sport through that. So those are some highlights. So for the first interim, we have to make some assumptions. We have to have some statistics to put in to project whether we can certify the budget. So for right now, I just came back from the CBO symposium, which is all the business and accounting school people from the state that go. And they said they're really just looking at the budget being stable. There's not going to be major increase. It's just going to be status quo for next year. In the future, they don't know. But they are pretty unsure with all the new positions that were elected, what people's priorities are going to be in the state of California in terms of prioritizing education funding. A lot of new people means they don't understand LCFF and how that all works. Changes, so it's kind of uncertain how that's going to look. The COLA we used for this year, the cost of living allowance was 1.07. And we projected using 2.93% on our multi-year projection, but a lot of the different fiscal organizations in the state are saying you should try to stick with something around 1%, because in previous years they give a higher number and then reduced it down. And we have our lower current enrollment in our multi-year projection, but you'll see later in the meeting when we talk about enrollment, it has already gone. So I did plug in some numbers with a little bit higher on that number to get back up. But that's just me guessing that's going to happen, and that helps the budget to have those higher enrollment numbers. If that doesn't pan out, we could be in a different book. And then our unduplicated pupil count, those are our high need students. It didn't really change much over the previous year. We always include the step and column increase and any cost that for retirement benefits or health and welfare in the multi-year projection, just to kind of put a buffer in and say we can, if those prices go up. And we know people are gonna have a step and column increase year over year, we move up another step. So we kind of put that in there as a buffer in the projection, so we know we can afford that. We had to do a deduction on the multi-year projection for some of the one-time funded positions that we've discussed before. Ones that are, if they're funded with one-time funds, those funds are not ongoing. So we had to put that in the multi-year projection because we have to meet our reserve. And you can see our restricted funding is going down year over year, especially now that we've spent big bulk of it, which was the COVID funds. And then there's lower state and local restricted funds. So some of the expense budgets in the out years in the MYP are less. The LCFF funding went up $29,436 since the budget adoption, but we did have a higher number for out years because we used a higher COLA and enrollment, but those are just guesses. And vacancies in our budget do not equate to savings. So we have some positions that weren't filled, but we have to have those in the budget because if we want to fill them in the future year, if we take that out of the budget, then we won't have that. So what's our current status? That's what we're here and what you're approving. We want to be able to say we can self-certify as positive and meet our financial obligations through 26, 27. We will only meet our reserve by reducing costs. And our budget workshop will show us if the COLA will be higher. It'll be like the 2.93 like they projected, or will it be lower like the current one? And then I already went over the cash flow, but our current cash balance for the end of this fiscal year is $3,328,688. And as I mentioned, our December cash balance is less because we haven't gotten our property taxes yet. And we also have a starting balance. And every month between payroll with benefits and then also our accounts payable, we're spending around $1 million. So we need to be able to have cash coming in so we can pay the bills and pay everybody. Goes right back up. And then our 3-year ADA average is based on the 2021 through last year's ADA. So at first we had 1920 ADA in that average, and that year we had 890 students, and our ADA was 850. So we were lucky for a couple of years that was part of the 3-year average. Now that's fallen off, and we're using all of our lower numbers, which are the 750 instead of 800. So that is what our funding is based off. So if you basically, I know I'm going a lot of things that you take how many students you have with your ADA, and you do that times the amount of your LCFF funding. So if that number goes down, the amount you receive is less. So the one-time restricted funding updates in the attachment where I have the Fund 01 and the multi-year projection, there's also a page that just listed out all the restricted funds. I just usually include that so you can see that's a big part of our ending balance, but those are all restricted. But I'm not going to sit and read through this either. I know we have a lot of things on the agenda, but you've got Prop 28 in there. That's ongoing, which is good. That we're using for our music and theater program. And then our learning and recovery block grant is being used for 5 positions. And the carryover will cover 2 positions. Some of those are like 1-year positions, like the interns. It was a good place to put that. The art and music one-time grant was used for our 3 PBS paras, and that goes through the end of 2026. We don't have any more COVID funds, and we've already kind of gone over what ELOP covers for my club, but it also covers our after-school, like choir, who's here, our after-school club. So any of the teachers' extra time, or maybe they bought some music sheets with the keyboard, and the esports equipment. So we've been able to do some great things for our clubs and add a lot of opportunities for our students. And then we have a special education pre-K grant that was supposed to end last year, and they extended it. So we are able to use that for part of the pre-K SPC teacher's salary and the aid. And then we spent most of the kitchen infrastructure fund. That was when we did the big walk-in fridge and freezer at OCI. So there's around 8,000 left, and we could, look at upgrading like the milk coolers or one of the ovens, smaller equipment to be able to use that up. And then our restricted lottery, we kind of covered the previous meeting that we had set it aside for a textbook adoption and curriculum, though we did use a small portion this year for our iReady. iReady is around 40,000, which is our math and ELA assessment program. And then Amplify. Previously, we had funded both those applications with ESSER as COVID funds. So now that those funds expired, we had to put them somewhere else. We weren't going to get rid of iReady and Amplify. So we put those under the restricted lottery because it can be used for curriculum. It's not just textbooks, it can be digital materials. We still have a strong balance. In fact, I think it's around, I was trying to look on here, the restricted lottery. Yeah, 424,000. So that's still there, remaining for when we do a textbook adoption. And then this slide shows the LCFF changes from budget adoption. So I just kind of put the two slides side by side, or the two spreadsheet snapshots. A lot of years that I've been here, I can say that actually forever. We will go from adopting the budget in June, and then we come to first interim, and it's like $200,000 more or less or something. Big change. And then we kind of are either scrambling, or we're thinking, why do we have all this extra? Well, this year, the budget was pretty accurate, because when compared to the budget adoption into now, it only went up $29,436 for additional LCFF funding. So it really was just a small increase. But since we adopted the June budget, everybody stepped up. So that's called step and column in all of our positions. And the cost of that is $147,353. So that's extra that comes out of the budget. But then sometimes when we have that extra LCFF, it helps kind of offset that. We're not seeing that this year. It really is a tight budget. And then this is the little table I use each quarter when I do these budget and interim reports. I'm showing you, so the budget you all adopted in June versus where we're at first interim. As you can see on the revenue side, there's really not much of a change. It's only $7,000 more. And then on the expense side as well, it's only, the expenses did go up 71,000. But the biggest change there at the top is the beginning balance. So that happens every year. You saw me report on that during unaudited actuals. Once we close the year and there's savings that falls out, that's what sustains us having that bigger beginning balance going forward. And then at the bottom there, you can see I have the restricted ending balance. That's all those items I listed. And then our unrestricted, we have to have 4% to meet our state reserve, and they say that's for economic uncertainty. Well, that 4% is $603,885. As you see, doesn't cover, it's supposed to cover 1 month of expenses. But as I mentioned on the previous slide, our 1 month of expenses, payroll alone, which you approved up in the consent agenda, is $750,000, and that's not what's been. So it's getting tighter and tighter, our reserve. And it's hard because there's a lot of factors, things like supplies and books, have gone up for everyone, costs have gone up. But then we're down enrollment and our MBA average is lower. So we're receiving less funding. So it's kind of hard. There's some legislation now to try to fund schools on enrollment, which would be a lot better. In fact, if you want to look online, they're looking for people to sign letters and advocate for that. Because if they funded on that instead of the average attendance, we'd probably be in a better boat. But our higher beginning balance and step and column increases are offset by the unfilled positions, which cause savings in the salary and benefits. So if we didn't have those savings, we wouldn't meet our reserve. So what does that blurb mean on the side? Well, if I take out that negative $171,145 for certificated salaries, which is 1.5 vacancies, I think, and the benefits, then at the bottom, the reserve is that much less, and we don't need our reserve. So we're kind of in a tough situation, and we're gonna have to look at future years, but our numbers are down, with our students, so maybe there are some ways we can make changes or adjust things. if they're not gonna adjust the funding. I mean, to give a school district a 1% COLA, when the cost of everything have gone up so much, and we have to have competitive salaries to keep people, it's just not really sustainable. So we really need the state to really prioritize schools and give more than 1%. So what's next is, January 9th, we have our P1 ADA, that's our attendance. They don't fund us on P1, they fund us on P2, which is in April, but it's kind of the first picture we get of like looking what our average attendance is for this year and how it's been going with absences and such. And then the governor's budget workshop is January 21st, and I'm excited, Michelle and I are gonna go and talk budget. And we're really gonna get a lot out of that. It's just a half-day workshop, but that's when they'll kind of give us, here's the numbers and the factors to use to build your budget for the next year. So by May, it can change. In March, we have the second interim due, and then, hate to say that word, LCAP. She's triggered by that, maybe. LCAP and budget development will be starting, as well as, we'll get our P2 ADA. And then May revise is when the state says, well, now this is the COLA, and this is the numbers you should use for your budget. If we're lucky, it's pretty steady. But some years, it's been completely wackadoo. And then by August, it goes to a different amount. And then we'll have our 2 board meetings in June. The first one where we review the budget and have the public hearing, and then the second one where we adopt the budget. So lots is coming through the pipeline.
So much, Tara. Anyone have any questions? Can we take a vote?
I do have a question. You were talking about, that 2019, 2020 was, dropped off the average for our ADA. And I think that the 3-year average thing came about because of COVID and all of that. Do you see that, continuing on, in the future, the 3-year average or some kind of average? It seems to be more predictable and steady and.
It seems like at first it was gonna be a one-time thing, but then they extended it, and I think what they'll either fund you on is your current ADA or the average, like what's better. So it does benefit us. And after 1920, with the pandemic and everything, they let you keep 1920 in your 3-year average, I think up till 21, 22 or 22, 23, because they held harmless a couple of years when schools were closed. So we kind of got that big number for like extra years that it wasn't the government. And now, like I said, at the Pride conference, they call it a cliff. They said you had this good average, and now you have the actual numbers from 22, 23, 23, 24 in the current year. And when I looked at our calculator, it was, it went from 840 something, now it's 750. And if you look at roughly 13,000 a student, and that's almost 100 students, that's pretty substantial in your funding that's gonna go down, especially if you're only increasing it at 1%.
I had another question. You mentioned on the 4% unrestricted reserve that it doesn't even cover 1 month payroll, which, that's barely half. Do you see, or would you recommend that, because the 4% is a state law, and we just follow that, we don't have anything internally here. as
We do, we
policy.
have a board policy for a 10 to 14% reserve.
Uh-huh.
And that includes the 4%. And we just, the last 3 or 4 years, we haven't met that. So we would have to make some changes to our budget to meet, the way it's written in the policy, it's like we would like to have at least
Okay,
10 to
that's what I
14%.
thought. Okay.
Yeah, so technically, we're not meeting that policy. If you take the 4 out of it, it's 6 to 10% extra on top of that.
Uh-huh.
On top of what
We're
we're
not
meeting because of the state. Yeah, and that's why I think that's why we had wanted back when Perk was here, and it was right when we
Yeah.
started to have an extra reserve so that, you do have enough to cover your costs. Because what do you do if all of a sudden they say, we're not giving you your tax money and you don't have that? And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom and be negative. We've always been fiscally conservative as a district, and, I'm just trying to, follow that and do my job. I don't want to be negative, but it's really not looking great with lesser numbers, lower funding.
That's all my questions.
I know there's a lot of talk about trying to get actual funding per student. Do you see that going forward or?
It's been, on the legislative floor like 3 or 4 years in a row, and it never makes it through. But this year, it seems like it has a little more backing to it. They even had, at my conference, they gave, a link to all CBOs that we could all sign a letter, on a Google form. Stephanie know that. They had us do a Google form that went to the legislature and, saying, so then all the CBOs logged right in and we all put, so we all signed it saying, yes, we want to switch. It's like, we need to do that because we're facing a bunch of different things from, COVID, but then now it's like more people are keeping their kids home, and, before they would maybe send them to school if they had a little sniffle. Or there could be mental health struggles or other things going on where we're seeing a lot more of those absences. So it seems kind of like we're punished in a way to be funded on our average attendance if it's out of our control. If we've done everything for our chronic absenteeism and trying to do rewards and get kids here, but it's a big difference, like I said, if we're being funded on, and we still have to hire and buy food and supplies for our enrollment. But then you're funded on, 100 less. So it really doesn't make sense. Most other states, I have a friend who works in New Hampshire, she's like, what? Funded on the average attendance? Doesn't make any sense.
We're only one of 14 in the United States that are funded this way.
Yeah, the majority is enrollment states. So that's a good, I didn't know that. So we're in the low percentile there. We're trying. But yeah, so that's something that, could advocate for as a board member. I'm sure there's resources or, if you did some research on websites where you could put your name down and say the same thing, like maybe they need to look at that model, but they're worried if they switch over, then maybe people, won't send their kids to school. They won't be as motivated to put the kids in seats.
It seems like if the majority, well, if other states can do it,
Yeah.
there must be some kind of safety net or check and balance that can be done in order to make sure that the funding isn't
Yeah, I think-
being wasted.
Well, and I think they think then we're just not gonna monitor absence or something. We still would have requirements, we have to meet test scores and all that. And if you don't have kids here, it affects a lot.
Like you said, even if the kid has a doctor's note, it's still, they're not here, they're absent. It's like, it's an excused absence, but not really excused.
Yeah, and they're missing that day.
It's like, yeah, so it doesn't make sense.
Nat McCarthy.
My question was on special ed, we're not funded fully on that. Do you hear anything in the legislature?
Actually, I got another Google the other day that said,
They're really pushing those.
All right.
yeah, they're like, put in for this because they want to fully fund special education, fully fund IDA. And that is something also that is really important because right now we're receiving around 400,000 for special education funding and then our cost is 1.9 million. So that's also coming out of the general fund to make up that difference because we have those amazing students who need those supports and services. But if you only give us, an eighth of the funding, but we're obligated when there's an IEP or anything, I don't mean that in a negative way, but I mean, we can't say, oh, we don't have the budget to provide it. We have to provide it. So there is a lot of, I think to me, that almost is more of a priority right now than the enrollment money. Because, the fact that it's so underfunded, the state, we get around 60,000 and then federal is like 330,000. So it's combined, it's about 400, but it's just, that's it, really? And most districts have about 12% of their student population that's special ed, and I think we're at 22%. So, yeah, so we're not even in the norm in that way. So, that's where the cost is more because we're having all these students that, like I said, amazing students, but they need more supports and services and we're gonna provide them. But, at some point you get to a point of like, where are we gonna get the funding to do?
This might be a good place to say something about that. Just because it's important information, I think. I think another thing that we need to let our legislators know and the people that are trying to make changes in this area is they're underfunding us, which means it makes it much more difficult to provide services for our students, which then gets, obviously parents are upset about that as they should be. And then we end up a lot of times with Office of Administrative Hearings and due process
See those
and court cases. And so now we're underfunded, so we're understaffed. So we're doing the best that we can, but maybe we aren't quite meeting what we need to meet. And then what happens is now we have attorney fees and we're paying lots of money for due process attorneys and letters to be written up. And then that, again, takes away from funding the personnel or the other resources that we need to provide what is needed in an IEP for a student. And it's just sort of this vicious cycle that keeps going down the toilet, right? And so those are important things to talk about and to let people know that are listening and setting out Google forms to ask about, how they can help. And yeah,
And you can even see it on our warrants, that, all the charges that say due process. The legal fees and all that, and I understand, people wanting to advocate for those services, but if we have on average, the due process could cost around $80,000. That could be a teacher's salary or an aide for a student who needs a one-on-one aide. And so that those resources aren't going to the right place where they should be going to the student.
I just had a comment. So we all went to the annual education conference, and one of the workshops that I attended was creative ways to boost attendance. And so Stanislaus County shared this brilliant idea where for the cost of $2.50 per student, that district has about 120,000 students, but they invested $300,000. They ran these ad campaigns, 15-second ads. So I brought one of the little cute things I picked up, and it says every day counts, and each word has one letter missing. Every day counts. And so this was a focus. And so these ad campaigns talked about the importance of going to school every single day. And they said they boosted the attendance by 5%. And they made, for 300,000 investment, they made $17 million. And that's not the reason they do it. It's because they tell the children, the parents, everybody, they said, for one missed day of school, you missed 2 days of instruction. And for those with chronic absenteeism, by the time you're able to graduate high school, you've missed an entire year of school. So it's amazing. They have banners, they have these cute little things that they hand out, you put your phone on. But just whatever it takes to get these kids, not just because of the money, but we can provide services. We can provide services, yes. Maybe we should talk about that more, yeah. All right, so we'll take a vote on that. I don't remember if I made a motion. Yeah, actually, and, okay, very good. Okay, so roll call vote. Aye. Aye.
That's all right.
Aye. Aye. Okay. And the next action item is B, consideration and adoption of board policy regarding stock albuterol inhalers on campus. Is there a motion to approve?
I move approval.
I'll second.
Very good.
Okay, so any discussion, questions?
I think it's a good idea.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Next, item C is consideration and adoption of board policy and administrative regulations, board bylaws, and exhibit revisions. Is there a motion to approve? I'll move approval. I'll second. Is there discussion on it?
I know, I had a question I emailed, but I didn't get a chance
If I
to.
remember your question, you want me to address it?
Well, I mean, is it necessary or does it get debated or does it matter?
I looked at it further. I can't remember off the top of, well, maybe.
Which one are you talking about?
It seemed to be a duplicate I'll go down here to, please, wait.
Are you talking about the math?
Well, I was talking about the map and then I was also talking about, was it student technology? I just looked at my email now.
So one of the questions, I think it was for draft policy 6152.1, placement and mathematics courses.
Yes, this is policy.
So when you read this, most of the paragraphs on this policy are very much directed towards high school, right?
Mhm.
Hold on a second. I think the reason, my understanding of this is there, I believe it's in 1, 2, 3, the third paragraph down says the superintendent or designee. You guys see that? Shall work with district leaders, counselors. Are you guys there? No?
No.
6152.1,
The regulation?
policy.
Please. And where are we on this page?
1 to the third paragraph down, starts with the superintendent.
Uh-huh.
The superintendent or designee shall work with district teachers, counselors, and administrators, and the representatives of feeder schools to develop a well-articulated sequence of mathematics courses and consistent protocols for placing students in mathematics courses offered at district high schools. So that's us, right? We're a feeder school. And so we, like when, our students, our 8th grade students are moving onto the high school, those teachers and principals work with them on like ensuring that those kids are placed appropriately and that our math curriculum is preparing them for the math curriculum that they have. So that, because Gamut and Simply is only gonna feed us policies that obviously are for us being a TK through 8th grade. So I, that's why we have it for that blur. The rest of it is more for the high school side of things, but that relates to us.
Looks like it's 7th through 12th grade is what they're.
Yeah, I did see a 7 in there too.
Yeah, so exactly. And there, we have quite a few policies like that. So, yeah. Is that helpful?
Yeah, yeah. But the other one was, let's see here.
Turn it off. Jim? Oh, leave.
What are we doing?
Why you have to be such a trouble?
I didn't turn it off.
Are we not picking up?
So I was exhibit 6163-4.
Student use of technology.
Right.
Use of technology.
And there's, if you look over on the right side, there's 2 drafts that look exactly the same, except the draft on top was blank and the draft on the bottom had our name on it. And I was just wondering, was that was it an error in duplication? Like, I felt like it read the same, so I felt like we could probably just delete the one that was blank, or is it?
Well, one of them in parentheses has a 1 and the other one has a 5. And so one of them is like, is the policy, and then the other one, the exhibit, would be like. So the one that has our name in it,
Uh-huh.
right, it says the Lake Joint Union Elementary School District. And then if you scroll down, this would go out to parents and they fill in the rest of the blanks. So that's the one that would be given out, right?
Yeah.
So.
But the first one was basically the same. Anyway, it just felt like a duplication because I felt like I was reading the same thing.
You were.
Okay, and it's needed. Okay, all right. I just thought maybe it was like a typo because it seemed the same. Thank you.
And actually, they got back to me like at 3:30 today, and they said we did have to have both of those in there.
Yeah.
But you can see that the one has our name on it, but when we adopt the one that has our name, the other one is just a draft.
Okay.
Right, so when they get approved, then Lana goes in and clicks and does her stuff, and then all of the ones that we've approved, which will be the one with our name on it, will come over, and then that'll be the one. Okay. That it is.
Any other discussion? I do have a question on regulation 5144.1, suspension and expulsion / due process. So on page, let's see, on item.
That's the
page-
policy or the regulation?
The regulation.
Hold on, I gotta get there. One policy. Okay, regulation.
Okay, if you look page 2 under item 17, which is engaged in an act of bullying. So the third paragraph talks about cybersexual bullying, the last sentence. So it talks about bullying also includes acts of cybersexual bullying by a student through the dissemination of or the solicitation or incitement to disseminate a photograph or other visual recording that depicts a nude, semi-nude, or sexually explicit photograph or other visual recording of an identifiable minor, when such dissemination is to another student or to school personnel by means of an electronic act and has or can be reasonably predicted to have one or more of the effects of bullying described above. Okay, this is my question here. Cybersexual bullying does not include a depiction, portrayal, or image that has any serious literary, artistic, educational, political, or scientific value, or that involves athletic events or school-sanctioned activities. So it says it does not include a depiction. So that means those are excluded, is what I'm understanding, right? So why would we want to exclude that whole list of things from being cybersexual bullying?
Because it has literary, artistic, educational, political, and scientific value.
Okay. Anyone else see something wrong with this?
So I think, I could be wrong, but like when you think about paintings that are in museums, and they might have someone nude, right? But it might not be sexual, it's just that that's artistic. So I'm not really understanding, I have to be honest, like athletic events and school sanctioned activities, what would be going on that would be photographed that's sexually explicit.
Maybe like a wrestling match.
Okay. All right, or maybe a kid has a shirt off because he's pole vaulting or something,
Or like, girls volleyball,
beach
really
volleyball.
short shorts. And boys volleyball. Right, so like probably that, right?
That's my interpretation, but.
It would definitely have to be subjective. You know, if somebody is offended by that, or if it's obviously
Well, right, and like, we would address that individually, right? Like if that happened and that was how the person felt, then we would talk about it. And then if it continued to happen, then that's a different conversation, right?
okay. And in that regard, I wanted to ask if the middle schoolers, if there's any kind of instruction or discussion on cybersexual bullying. Since they do
Not
do that,
specific to cybersexual,
or just even online, any kind of online,
I'm sorry.
any kind of online bullying, which happens a lot.
There's discussion about that for sure, yeah, and there are issues that happen, for sure also. It falls under the whole category of bullying and proper interrelational skills and thing. But yes, it's a conversation that's happening, for sure.
Very good.
We don't get specific, say, to sexual items of sexual nature per se, because it's not. It's already very clear that, but we have other policies that will keep that kind of thing from it. And so, like things like no displays, public display of affection or something like that. We basically have a rule of you don't touch the children. We don't have people hugging. We don't have people sitting on people's laps, things like that. And so those types of behaviors are just disallowed 100%. And we have other policies like we talked about our phone policies, things like that, where they're just not allowed to be used on campus as a practice.
You do hear about exchanges of inappropriate photos, sexual photos, and that'll get you a knock on the door by the sheriffs. You know.
Yeah, we've had to do that kind of thing before. Yeah. I mean, everything that can happen does happen.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of the world. But we do everything we can to stop it from happening and to catch it when we can. Honestly, a lot of the stuff that we end up finding out about, students let us know about, which is to their credit and to our staff's credit, because of the relationships that we have with the students. They feel comfortable coming to us different ways, telling a friend might tell us. That's how we find out about a lot of things. Super important. Those relationships are very deep. Yeah. But it's upsetting.
Yeah. I'm glad you have that discussion. Prevention is key, right? Okay, thank you, Mr. McGrew. Okay, any other, I think that was the last one. That's it. Are we have a motion to approve these? Roll call vote, I mean.
Do we have a motion, Lauren?
I already did that.
Yes,
Sorry.
we did, okay, sorry.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, and we're on item number 10 now, information items. First one is academic achievement and curriculum adoption report. This will be by our superintendent.
Yeah.
Mrs. Townsend.
Before we start, is everybody okay with a quick restroom break?
Oh, yeah. Fine.
Thank you.
But the ladies would take longer. Digging deep in there.
I am, I haven't had dinner, I'm hungry.
Okay.
We good?
Are we ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Townsend.
Okay, so I don't have any attachments. I just thought this would be a good place to continue our conversation and maybe talk about a few things regarding the mini board workshop that we did when we were at CSBA. So we had a mini board workshop on academic achievement and sort of putting our mind around coming up with like a long-term plan, right? And, coming up with some ideas of how we want to move academic achievement forward in the district, with the understanding of that, clearly is a big undertaking and probably needs some thought and lots of conversations. And like I said, like a roadmap or a plan. And so, I think I remember us saying we wanted to continue those workshops once a month. So I wanted to make sure that, yeah, like maybe we can schedule that, and then, I thought that it would be good for obviously our principals to hear and the public that this is something that we are highly focused on and want to pay attention to, and certainly want to get feedback and support from our leaders and our teachers and our staff as we move along in this process. But to let people know that we're starting the process and we're serious about it, and we're in the process of putting a plan together. So is there, no,
I was
For a
thinking
date now.
January 22nd, it's a Wednesday, it's 2 weeks after our next board meeting. I'm open. I mean, we're talking PM or afternoon, or AM. I work until 12. Well,
I would prefer it to be after the school day.
yeah, Julie works, right?
What, on what day?
Oh, yeah, we all work. Wednesday, January 22nd.
What time, Julie?
What time would we like? 5?
What works for you? I can hear whatever.
5 works for me. 5 rather than later. Does that work for you
I
guys?
could do-
Does
I could do it.
Yes.
But Tara is double checking that that's not the day we're coming back from the
No,
government.
we come back on the 21st, sorry.
Okay, so hold on. My stuff is all over the place right now. Yeah, that works.
That's so great, you guys all went to the conference together.
Yeah.
Great
Great.
collaboration. We've never had that for everybody. We
Okay.
won't have that in the district
We'll
office.
hear more about that.
My former office.
And then I'll sit down and like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you, Lana.
That is our next. school.
And then, I think as we move along, I would like to recommend and suggest that we bring principals in.
I was thinking the
some of
same
those
thing.
meetings,
Great.
right, like work collaboratively and get suggestions and ideas from the field.
100%, love that.
Yeah, I think that would be really important. And then I just wanted to let you know that, the Google form running thing of tonight for the curriculum survey is done. And I'm gonna have the principals look at that to see if there's anything I missed or make any editing suggestions, and then that'll go live. Up to our folks. And just a quick mention, so you guys know, because this is part of programming and academic achievement. The principal and I have been starting to have conversations about resident lots program and what that might look like in the future. And so I think that would be a good thing to bring up in these mini workshops also, to start kind of road mapping that and see how that fits into our plan. Is there anything else I missed or that you guys would like to add?
I just think, is there gonna be a set agenda for this? Like, are you driving an agenda for us so that, when we sit down, we're gonna
Yeah.
cover these topics?
I would like to, yes, and I would like to share that with you about a week in advance. So if there's anything you guys would like to add, or when we invite folks to come and be part of that, if there's anything they'd like to add. So it can kind of be a collaborative effort with that. And then, yeah, we'll follow that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, we're on item 10B, enrollment, ADA reports.
So we're seeing a little bit of an upturn on our enrollment. 804, whereas the previous month it was 798. So to me, that's going in the right direction, because as I mentioned, when our average attendance is taken off that, it's better to have a higher enrollment number to work with. We just saw some small changes, a couple more kids went to Bliss, OES had a bit of growth there, Fresno Flats is the same. And then OCI was a couple less, it might be the kids who went to Bliss, I had to guess. And then with Suma, it looks like they went up a couple as well. We usually do see that this time of year, you know, with, especially after the holiday break, again, we could see some fluctuation. And then the other attachment there is the ADA to enrollment that I've been providing with the average, so it shows you the enrollment at the site. This is an average. And then the average attendance, so you can see the variance that's there. And you can see, the attendance percentage, or the 88% sorry, on the side. So we were in the low 90s on some of the numbers before, and they went up a little bit. And I'm seeing more here at OES with our little people, you do see that a lot more, especially in the winter time, you know, more illness and stuff going on.
Item C, inter-district transfer reports. This shows since our last board meeting, we have not had any students transfer into the district, and we have not had any students transfer out of the district. Next, item D is portable project update.
So I said at the last meeting that I was going to bring back a portable project update, and, as you know, we had put it out to bid one time, and we had only got one bid. So and that doesn't give us any option, so we put it out to bid a second time, and we received two bids, and again, they were, the architect had told us, quoted an amount when we first talked about this project, and it was doubled. And I just don't see how, moving forward, that we could do that, because the amount we had set aside from the sale of the Bass Lake School and some of our developer fees was what was closer to what he had projected it would cost. So, plus there've been issues with the building having not the right snow load capabilities for this region and fireproofing issues. So, before we could even think about moving forward with that, we found out, when we filed the plans with the state architect, that there were unfinished projects from the 90s, which I've kind of briefed you on before. But we're working with a company that specializes in that, and thankfully, our awesome rep from Climatech, Tyler, he had hooked me up with, this company. And that's what they expertise is around the state. They work with school districts to close out the whole project, and we're down to eight out of 10 being closed. But basically you can't proceed with any kind of new projects if you still have old projects. You don't find out about those till you go to start on the new projects. So the main one that's holding us up right now is, a project from 1991, and, it's a couple portables that were put together, and they didn't have the correct plans. Well, that many years ago, whoever did it, the architect could have passed away, or the plans are no longer around. So we did find someone who can, help us to move that forward, but they don't have any availability till the spring. So since we're not in any hurry right now, being that the bids were more, we kind of pump the brakes on that. And also we were thinking about maybe, cutting back. You know, we bought all these portables that maybe we could do with having half the amount, because the cost is so much. To me, it doesn't make sense to bankrupt the district or take everything we have in savings to finish this project, since it keeps coming in bid a lot higher. So we were looking at, there's some other districts that were interested in purchasing portables, as well as local organizations like even my club was wanting to expand and get some new portables. Their portables, I think, are 30 or 40 years old. But there are some rules since we purchased the portables with COVID funds. We have to follow some rules of disposition where we would surplus them, and then we could sell them and use the proceeds to help the project going forward. There's just a lot of different things going on with this right now, and I just kind of wanted to update you. So right now, and everyone says, oh, the portables are just sitting there, or the district isn't using them. Well, there's a whole bunch of factors to that, and number one being the old project. So once we can get that wrapped up, then we can kind of come up with our plan to move through with the portables and getting the ones finished that we decide to have. In my mind, if we could sell them to a local organization that could use them, that could be a benefit for our students as well. So I hope that we'll have some more updates in the future, but luckily we have our developer fees, which I reported to you on in a previous meeting, that we're using for some of these costs with the architect and project support services, because it falls under that allowable use. So it's not impacting our general fund, trying to wrap up these projects and figure out a plan for this. And Robert has been working tirelessly with me on trying to figure this out.
Thank you, Tara. Okay, item 11, accomplishments and other reasons to celebrate from throughout the district. And we have Mr. McGrew, Oak Creek Intermediate School. I love your outfit.
Forgetting I
You're
have
going to Hawaii? You going to Hawaii for Christmas?
It was Hawaiian Christmas Day today.
Oh,
Yeah.
See if I can. Yeah, that's
You should have told us we would address that at the district office.
good. What do we have tomorrow? Oh, it's like the sweater.
Oh.
Huh?
Ugly sweater tomorrow.
Ugly sweater. Where am I going here, Stefan?
Boardroom?
It is, okay.
Yeah, they stopped in. So.
Okay. All right, there we are. So.
Oh, wow.
That'll fall over. So let me see, we have I don't know where to start, so I'll just keep going. Here is our elected student leadership. I don't think I shared this with you last time, so I put this up here. Everything good?
Yeah, cool.
Okay. I will say right off the bat here, I did not put this presentation together, Sarah Johnson did for me. So I think of that. Yeah, these are, Isabella Leister, is our president. We have Aaron as our vice president, and Bella and Ella, twin sisters, treasurer and secretary, and they've been doing a great job. One of the, things that we've been working on the last couple of years at OCI is getting student leadership to be a lot stronger and to be more interactive. And that's proved to be working very well, actually. And we've had a few teachers that are helping with that. But particularly Mariah Hatfield is doing a leadership elective, and she's been heading that up. Veronica Longforce has been helping her out a lot. And it's really been really strong, really good. Here we have the Cadet Corps at the Veterans Day Parade down in Fresno. So every year they go down there and represent, they go down with YHS and students, I believe students come from here also, is that right? And from OCI and Washington, and go down. What? Yes.
They look sharp.
Down, down, all right. Like I said,
You're giving him a compliment.
just trying to get it home, that's all.
Yeah, you
Here are boys basketball. We just wrapped this up. We just had the tournament last week. They finished up in second place at the tournament with overall season, 3 wins and 1 loss. Things went pretty well. Pardon me, so that's pretty good. We had a lot of gentlemen playing. Next up, we have girls basketball and boys soccer. Here's the girls soccer here. They went 50-50 wins and losses. They played pretty well. They ended up in 3rd place at the tournament. And things went pretty well for them. And Mr. Peterson was coaching basketball, and Ms. Lonko was coaching soccer, and will continue to do the same. Switching genders. The last time I presented, I showed you some boxes, I think, and things like that of what we're getting ready for our float and that. So this is the actual homecoming parade, and you can't see it too huge, but they did an awesome job with the float that we have. And then we have our mascot here hanging out with the other mascots, and the kids having a good time. The parade and all went really well. And we have a ton of help on the float. I have to say, I don't have to, but I'm going to anyway. Our float better than everybody else.
Did you win a prize?
Huh?
Did you win a prize?
I don't think so. But like it was like head and shoulders above, and I take no
They
credit.
don't watch the run.
But, huh?
I think we put it in there.
Are there prizes?
Well, I think it might have mentioned.
Oh, okay.
On
If
the
it
All I
hasn't
know
been-
is We don't have like some kind of trophy or anything like that, no money exchange yet, but, Yali and Darza has been, our art director, and, so she's been super helpful with that. and she gets a little crazy on these things, but, they come out, they're super awesome. And the kids do a ton of the work and they get totally into it. Oh, Jesus, all right. My battery's dying. Okay. And then we had a breast cancer awareness day. It was a day of, on a Friday when we had a home game, so we had people dressing up in pink. And we had, some parents and families donate different pink items. And then we sold those things to the students and raised some money to be able to donate for this. We invited Hillside also, we let them know about it, so if they wanted to do the same when they came up, and participate in that when we had our games, that they could. So we had we had a ton of participation, so it was nice. And here we have Halloween dress up times, and again, a lot of participation. It's hard for me, like impossible at this moment, to not differentiate about when we just got back from COVID to now. The amount of participation that's been happening has just been gaining and gaining. We've been actively working on that, but the kids are also feeling more into it and that kind of stuff. And so that's good. It creates more of a community feeling. It gets everybody into it, and it's just fun, you know. And so that's something to look forward to. And it's nice. Here we had a rally outside, all sorts of silly like pep rally games. The kids, middle school, we never had pep rallies when I was in middle school. In high school we did, but we've been trying it out, and it's been fun. And they just don't know what to expect, and so that's kind of funny. Also, they're not sure what the whole thing's about, especially the sixth graders coming in now. So we, just play silly games, and there's a lot of screaming and yelling, and it's unbelievably loud. But it's fun, and candy flying out into the audience, that kind of stuff. So again, it creates some unity and has a good time. And teachers and adults are goofing around and that kind of stuff too, which is fun for the kids. This is CPR training, and this was happening actually in Cadet Corps also. And these students were getting trained in CPR. I know that they're doing adult and then infant also. And so that's really an awesome thing. I took advantage of Jordan's training also. I did training last year, and when she came up with it again, our nurse Jordan, when she offered it again, I signed up again, and she said, it's good for like 2 or 3 years, you're thinking. Two. And I said, yeah, I'd rather be really sure about what I'm doing.
It used to be 1 year, then they made it to 2. So.
Okay, yeah, so I will probably continue to do it every year because I like to just feel it. I would hate to be in that situation and not feel like I knew what's going on. I love it being offered right now. And working with her she's really a great addition to our staff. She's really a good job. She's nice to work with and does good work. Here we are, community Christmas tree decorations. They came up with some neat decorations this year. And again, this was leadership doing this. And we just took a handful of students up to the tree to decorate. They came up with a neat type of decoration. Every year it's difficult because you have to make ornaments that are like weathered. And that's not as easy as it sounds, it turns out. And so this year they came up with one that was neat. It's taking a certain type of like plastic drinking cup. You can decorate it with pens, and then you shoot it with like a heat gun or something like that, or a hot air guard, and it melts it down like a shrinky dink. You recall those things, and it flattens. Yeah, and they're awesome, and there they are, all decorated and flat, and plastic. So yeah, that's always good. I always hated it when the principal would ask me as an art teacher to come up with these decorations because it was always hard to figure out something to do. Battle of the Books for our sixth graders. That's as old as that competition gets. It's sixth grade. OES went and did very well. We went and had a great time. We didn't place as high, but the kids did a great job. They have 20 books that they read between them. Some of them read all 20, some of them read 4 or 5. And then as a group, they have to answer questions and they do competition type stuff. So we had, honestly, in this group, we had some kiddos who I would say probably often don't participate in other things. And so that was really neat way for that to do. Jackie now headed that up. And then, last Friday, we had our Candyland dance, and they came up with some awesome decorations for this. Again, I gotta say, the best decorated dance I've been to yet. So we're trying to set the bar, right. You know, we'll see what that comes up with.
Mrs. Peterson, now she like.
Toulouse? Yeah, that's
Did you
good.
not
We
even
like-
She commented right away, love the.
Yeah, they did a great job. They spent tons of time on this and got some new techniques on how to do this, but it's all after the board game Candyland. And it looked really cool until everybody got in. Just trash. But that's how that goes. We had 250 plus students show up to the dance. It's quite a lot, and had a good time. Most of the things went right, and a little photo booth there. They do like when you get in one of those little photo booth deals, but they have things that you can put on and costumes and that kind of stuff, props. And you can go with your buddies and get a picture taken, and they print out one strip for each of you there. And I think we were charging $1. So 3 people went up, it was $1 each or whatever like that. We didn't make our money back on that, but it's pretty fun. So, and I believe that's the last slide. It is. So,
Wow.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, next item is board member comments. Julie, would you like to start?
No, superintendent report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Superintendent.
Okay.
Okay, a couple things. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is we're all aware of, sort of the unfortunate position we've been in the last 4 or 5 weeks with some, scary threats that have come across. And we've had some lockdowns and we've had, you know, the yuckiness of that. And so, I reached out to Knowledge Saves Lives, that's the entity that does our active threat training. And I asked them if they have a program that we could present to our students that explains to them the significance of these types of threats and the impact that that has on all sorts of different levels. And then also if they also had something like that they could present to parents, and they do. And so I'm in the process of getting some materials and some samples, and then talking with principals and seeing if we can move forward with that. They said that the program that they have is most appropriate for like 5th through 8th grade. So I thought that might be an important message to put out there for our students and our parents and our community. So I'm working on that. And then with that, I will add that our catapult system and our door lock system and the training that our principals have had, when we did have that lockdown a couple weeks ago, things went really well. And we were quite pleased. And we, of course, there were a few small goals, but we were able to address those and move forward. And I think I felt good about it. I think they felt good about it. I think Stefan felt good about it. And that's a positive thing. I hope that we don't ever have to do it again, but we're prepared and we have things in place, and we're going to move forward with maybe some education around this as well.
It was great seeing the support of the law enforcement and help the.
Yes, yes. Medina County Sheriff were very responsive and very helpful with all of the situations. So that's been good. The next thing I wanted to just add is, I mentioned earlier that we all attended the CSBA conference down in Anaheim, and that was fantastic. And I don't know the last time all school board members and the superintendent went together, and I think that was very helpful and very collaborative, and we learned a lot of great things at the sessions. So, thank you to the district for allowing that. And I think you guys will probably talk a little bit about that too. The next thing is I wanted to just give a shout out to Lydia, who does our payroll. She had quite the month. because of the negotiations with CSEA and when we moved the classifications and we added the mild, moderate, para job, right, or classification and moved it over range. And then that had to get retroed, and then that affected the budget model, and there were, it's hard to explain the idiosyncrasies in all of that and all of the things that she, like, that just doesn't happen. And there's a lot of things that she needs to pay attention to make sure that's done right for our people. And that's been a lot of time. And so I wanted to say thank you to her for getting that done. And then I was able to get most of the district office to go on a couple of field trips today and yesterday. I said, come on, we're gonna go see the winter. Yeah, well, Lydia couldn't go because she was doing the payroll, but we went and enjoyed the winter performance at Wasuma and then today at OES, and that filled our bucket, right? That reminds us why we do what we do. So they did a great job, and the teachers did a great job, and Tamara and the principals, and that was a joy to see. And last, I just want to say happy holidays to all of you and to those that are watching, to our staff and our students in our community. And I just hope that everybody enjoys time with their family and friends and gets to relax a little bit. And we'll see you back in January. I'll see some of you before then, but most of them I'll see back in January. So happy holidays.
You too, thank you. Okay, now board member comments. Julie?
My turn. Thank you. Thanks for letting me be first. Like Superintendent Townsend mentioned, we were all at the CSBA conference down in Anaheim. First of all, the way to see how you operate away from the district and to see the results of how you handle emergencies when we weren't even in town. I couldn't be more proud. I couldn't be more in awe of how hard you work, how you function without sleep. It is an honor to be part of the board with the entire district, the way they operate, and you guys are just like top notch. And I have a few comments to make about that. At our CSBA conference, we heard from keynote speaker Lori Santos from the Happiness Lab. She has a podcast. I'm a huge fan. I'm giving her a shout out right now. I just love the 10 ways to make yourself a bit more happy. And it was just like so concise and actionable, and like, who doesn't want a little bit more happiness? I also got to hear from Dr. Victor Rios. I'm a fan. I have gone to all of his sessions. At every time I've been to CSBA, he is a success story from being a gang member to now being a doctor and doing all kinds of research and giving back to the educational community that helped bring him up. And it was very interesting. I'll just be brief. When kids were surveyed, when they surveyed working class families versus, or students versus middle class students, their support needs were different. The working class needed more emotional support and less informational, and the middle class needed more informational and less emotional. And that just made me come back right here to the district and how we are putting kids' mental health as a priority, and we are investing time and our money and resources into helping support the mental health of our students. And so I'm very proud that we as a board have prioritized that and that we're following through with those action items. I was able to tour the campuses, all 3 campuses yesterday. It was very brief. But I got to see the Battle of the Books presentation where they had a little celebration party at OES, and Mrs. Huddleston and Miss Burton and Miss Forte were just talking accolades about all of their students that participated, and kind of just to piggyback on what Mr. McGrew said, some kids that have never participated in things before got to participate in something, and even like the kids that weren't great readers got to pal around with the great readers. And another shout out to Madera County for putting on a county-wide competition. This is very similar to the pentathlon, but for OES to get second place, was it the fourth graders?
Yeah.
Second place in the whole county?
Nice.
Come on, that's awesome. So, yeah, awesome. When I went to Wasuma, I got to tour, or I was handled outside. No, I'm just kidding. I walked around, saw some caution tape here and there, so we avoided that. I do have a question about the future of the bus barn there, so we'll put that on someone's radar. And I also got to go to OCI and had a very meaningful conversation with Mr. McGrew. And one of the things that Superintendent Townsend has implemented is the early notification of retirement or resignation. And I just think the forethought of that and having that incentive is hoping to set us up for next year with all of the positions that we need filled, because I know we don't have, you know, people teaching in their, you know, designation, if you will. For example, Mrs. Neff, she's our reading specialist, and she's in the 6th grade classroom, and she's doing a fantastic job. But if we could get a 6th grade teacher, that would be great too. And then she could do reading. And overall, I just want to say I'm so proud of all the staff in the district. When I hear things that may be not going the way a parent wants, or maybe a way a community member doesn't think it should go, I start to go, wow, what are we doing about that? And then when I step foot on our campuses and I see the amazing work that is going on, the teachers, the kids, I saw a teacher do a minor correction for a kid who was kind of speaking, taking the spotlight out of someone else they were trying to shine a light on, and that kid responded, and it wasn't shame oriented, it was supportive and encouraging. And this is the worst part, I am preaching to the choir right now. Anyway, hope you guys have a great break. Thank you for the mic today.
Rhonda?
Well, you said everything. It's funny because things I was gonna talk about were the sessions that we took together. Dr. Rios, the one thing that he did mention about his whole experience was it was one teacher in high school that's like, you can do this, you can do this. And he did it. And he just needed one person to believe in him. And then he has just gone all this way. And that was the other thing they were talking about with the social emotional learning, and how when they surveyed the kids, and the kids, you know, the working class students versus the middle class students, and how they needed the social emotional connection in order to get to that next level. They needed the teacher to say, you can do it, you can, you know, and the kids that had that at home, or, you know, they already had that. They didn't need that. So they just needed to know how to do it. These kids didn't even believe they could do it until their teacher told them they could do it. Then they needed to know how to do it. So he was like, the kids, until you can let them know that they have that potential, they don't want to know how to do it because they don't think they can do it. And it was just amazing how we felt. I felt very proud that we've already implemented, and we're doing a lot that they're just talking about. And Julie said a lot, and I just kind of echo what you're saying. And it was great to all be together and have that time to kind of focus, and you know, like you handling all these situations, and you guys, you know, stepping up and working together to make it happen is amazing that you guys could all do that. And thank you. And yes, happy holidays. I didn't make a note, and I can't remember what else I was going to say, but I'll be done then. Thank you.
Rhonda, Stephen?
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna take a lot of time, but I too, we all went to the thing down in Anaheim, and it was quite an eye opener. And I sat in on everything. I got blisters on my feet. There was so much walking involved. And but the course that really stuck home with me was the very last one on Saturday. And I'm gonna be really plugging into it, and it was focused on reading and the board. And I don't think there was more than 30 people at that session. And, but everything about it was focusing on the states in our country that are doing awesome with their reading. And they said anyone can do this if the board members will start focusing on what they call early literacy programs. And so I'm going to be meeting with some of the people and finding out what they're doing as a board. Because they're doing things different than most other districts are doing anywhere. And they're, you know, in the top tiers of things happening, because it all starts with the reading. You know, the AI, the history, the civics, whatever else comes later. If you can't read, you're not gonna do much with it. So that is just critical. And I hadn't really realized that until after this particular course. And I have a lot of notes on it. I'm not gonna read them. Just gonna say, I'm gonna enjoy my new position on the board. It's the one position I have not had, being the roving representative of our school board meetings I'm gonna go to. And also, I should mention too, I'm the, I plugged in with the small school board advisory workshop group people. It's a long title. And they had like 6 sessions down there that they wanted all their people to go to. So that was their little curriculum for me. And so I went to all of those because they were targeting, you know, people with school boards that had 2,500 people or less and qualified. So, so anyway, there was only a few that were smaller, maybe because they, you know, have us raise our hands. And there were some school districts with like 100 kids in the district. You know, it's just amazing. You know, way up in the mountains in Northern California. They're talking about their attendance when 20 people don't show up. It's like nobody's there. Anyway, okay. So Merry Christmas. Thank you for the gifts, everyone, and we'll see you in the new year, if not sooner.
So Stephanie, do you have my photograph?
Oh.
Gonna pop up on your screen.
Wait, do we have consent?
This time, but when we were in the.
I called them my elves.
So, that particular evening, Michelle, we pay a lot, if you look at the warrants, of attorney fees, if you haven't ever noticed. So our attorney was hosting an event with free food. So challenge accepted. We all showed up and ate as many sliders and charcuterie boards and whatever we got our hands on. Yeah, yeah, taquitos, lots of sauces, anything we could do to try to make up for some of that money that we spent. So, and then after that, we had our picture taken. So we are fat and happy right there. Moment in time. So anyway, that was part of the fun, but I think another valuable thing that we got, I feel like as a board out of going to that conference was just time together outside of the boardroom, because it's not something we usually get. So having dinner together, lunch together, different things that, you know, attending sessions together, that was something we wanted to do. I just really thought that helped bring us together as a board with our common vision that we have for the district. And, you know, Michelle making dinner reservations for us, kind of leading us, and we had that mini board workshop, which I think was super valuable. So I think we packed a lot into those few days, and I really appreciate all the Tara's planning and Mindy and helping us, you know, with all the logistics of that. So that was fun. And then I did go to esports. After that presentation, I wanted to check that out. So I came on Friday and saw that. That was super neat just to walk around. I mean, there's so many kids doing so many different things. And it's not just the video games. They're playing Legos. They have other games that they're playing on computers. aside from I'm pointing up there because they have screens up there with interactive games. They were in a tournament. And then, but they're also doing art. I mean, some kids are drawing and coloring different things. And it was just neat to see just all the different levels. And they even had a couple of, kids with more, special needs, but they're still able to participate with all the other kids. So it's a really interesting program. So I appreciate, the time that I was given to check that out. And, Stacy Humpton and Michelle Burton spearhead that, and they do a really nice job. So thank you for letting me see that. And Battle of the Books, I wanted to extend my congratulations to that. That's just such a cool thing, and I love anything that has to do with reading a bunch of books. So that was awesome. And then lastly, Merry Christmas to everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Denise. Yes, so I just want to express my appreciation for sending this all to the education conference. Learned a lot, and I was able to go to the prior day. It was the board president workshop, so that was a full day, very interactive, and probably the main thing that we focused on is our discussion leading to children graduating high school.
Right.
So that was, we all need to focus. That needs to be our most important priority, as we all know. So appreciated all the workshops that were very interesting and time together. What else was I going to say? So I look forward to going to the holiday performance tomorrow. Excited and enjoyed hearing the kids this morning or this evening singing. They did a beautiful job. And I will just wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. See you guys next year. Okay, our next meeting date, I show Wednesday, January 8th.
No, I think on the date we adopted, it's the 15th.
Oh, we did, it's the 15th? So we have to meet
Wait,
to,
heard the eighth?
Yeah, at 15th, that was on the beginning of the agenda because it was different when we adopted the dates for the organizational for the future meeting.
yeah.
Because I think when we talked last year, the 8th, it was too close to when school was just coming back, and so we were trying to push it out a week in January. So it should be the 15th.
So
It is
it should be the 15th.
15th, okay.
Do we want to adjust
would
our
be the only
mini
one here.
workshop meeting then at all?
I think we should keep that.
I like it. We can, it's 2 weeks in a row, just.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
It's not 2 days, so that's good.
Do we have any future agenda items?
2 days. 2 days in a row. No, not 2 days.
Julie?
No, I don't have any future agenda items.
No? Okay. And it looks like this meeting is adjourned. Yeah.
And so the 15th.
Great job, Madam President.